In galactic classification, Class 15 Deathworlds were theory. So lethal in volatility, they were only described in simulations. Not one had ever been confirmed. Not one believed survivable. Too volatile for permanent gravity anchoring. Too hostile for aerial drone deployment. Too chaotic for atmosphere-breathing life. A world where the oceans boiled and froze in the same orbit. Where tectonic shifts shattered mountains weekly. Where radiation storms rewrote DNA mid-sequence. A world so unstable that observation probes, designed to survive nova bursts, simply stopped transmitting. The Conclave had rules for such places. Ignore, mark as forbidden, move on. But then came the signal. It wasn't a cry for help, not a warning, just coordinates. Embedded in a drifting derelict, a vessel of unknown make, centuries old, floating near the edge of Perseus' arm. Its markings were Terran extinct, by galactic consensus. One of the early space species that expanded too fast, fought too many wars, and fell into silence. Their archives were scattered ruins, their homeworld marked unapproachable after probe incineration, and yet here was a ship, still intact, still transmitting, bearing planetary telemetry unmistakably tied to the surface of that forbidden Class 15 Earth. The researchers aboard the Conclave cruiser Thesis of Calm debated protocol. Military was deemed unnecessary. No power signatures, no weapons detected, no resistance expected. Science would prevail. Dr. Veller, xenogeologist of House Tren, insisted, if it's real, the data will rewrite everything we know about survivable physics. Dr. Hallouni, cultural archivist, argued, if humans live there, we must understand how. It's irresponsible not to study it. Curiosity became consensus. They sent drones first, 14. They made it to the upper atmosphere, then died simultaneously. No debris recovered, no cause detected, just failure. The mission logs recorded the moment. Drone 12 error, log ended. Timestamp 0043.22. Final status, altitude loss, atmospheric breach, unknown interference. Note, final message fragment received, translated to galactic standard, it watches. Undeterred, the researchers redesigned the next drones with advanced shielding, delay buffers, even manual override links. They launched 5 more. One made it to the surface, just long enough to activate optical sensors. It sent one image, a field of metal, twisted, ancient, covered in symbols. At the center, a humanoid statue, weathered by wind, half consumed by ash. In one outstretched hand, a shard of mirrored glass pointed skyward. The drone's camera focused, then melted. The signal died. Another black box lost to entropy. And still, the derelict in orbit continued to broadcast. Its message never changed. We survived. Ask us how. The council grew nervous. Some recommended withdrawal. Others, excitement rising, authorized manned descent. The Thesis of Calm dropped lower. On board, Dr. Veller prepared environmental pods. We'll land, stay no more than 10 minutes. Document what we can. No interaction. They approached over what looked like a fractured desert. Clouds gathered above. Storms without lightning, sky without sun. The Conclave cruiser passed into night without seeing a dawn. Then the ship's lights failed. Backup systems ignited instantly. Oxygen maintained. Hull integrity intact. But gravity shifted, inverted, for precisely 1.3 seconds. A minor system glitch? A side effect of atmosphere? Dr. Hallouni's voice shook. This world rewrites constants. No one laughed. Not after the next hour. Time aboard the ship slowed. Not metaphorically. Chronometers drifted. Pulse readings on the crew decelerated by 3.4%. Data logs showed a delay of perception. Memory gaps forming mid-sentence. Crew began writing things and forgetting they had. Dr. Veller, reviewing the drone image again, realized the statue's hand had changed position. That wasn't possible. Was it? No more descent, the captain ordered. But the ship didn't respond. The engines hummed a melody, unfamiliar, human in tone. One crew member whispered, I know that song. My grandmother sang it. She was Virexi, someone snapped. The crewman only nodded. My grandmother was Terran. That was the moment curiosity died, because now they weren't just studying a dead world. They were aboard a vessel that had come from that world, a ship no one remembered boarding, with a statue aboard no one had installed. At the heart of the ship, now restructured by something, stood that same figure from the surface. This time the mirrored shard pointed inward, and everyone saw themselves reflected, but older, burned, changed, human. The log ends with Dr. Haluni's final transmission. We came for knowledge. But Earth doesn't give knowledge. It gives memory, and memory carries fire. The ship was never recovered. The thesis of calm became another derelict in the orbit of a world that should never have existed. Researchers stopped coming. The conclave quietly sealed the sector, but in quiet, in silence, in the shadows of neglected systems, the signal still repeats. We survived. Ask us how. The anomaly was spotted drifting in the gravity well of a neutron star designated PX119. The science vessel Observer's Mercy registered it as debris until the object corrected trajectory, not a drift, a maneuver. Scans recalibrated. Result, metallic composition, aged pitted, coated in subatomic carbon strata. Estimated age, over 600 cycles. Older than any warp-capable ship on record. Older than warp itself. No known faction had operated at those coordinates in that era. The crew called it a ghost. Spectrometer analysis returned a partially legible hull signature. Earth Vanguard, Kine Gernik, Rasher, Columbus, Earth. No such planet appeared in any contemporary star charts. The name was vaguely familiar, buried in pre-expansion mythology, a discarded hypothesis from lost seed world theories. Humanity had once been considered a species name, long disproven. Still, the ship was there, running, lights dim, systems active, emissions subtle, almost shy. The ship had no escort, no beacon, no automated distress signal, but it was intact. Boarding was approved. The Observer's Mercy launched 2 drones. They docked. No resistance, no turrets, no shielding. The airlock responded to their signal after a 3.2-second delay, as if thinking. Inside, dim corridors, antique engineering, human design, but that was impossible. Xenohistorian Gal Verum activated the visual link. We're seeing hand-latched wiring, oxygen-based life support, manual bulkheads. No biomass? Asked the captain. None, but something's moving. Thermal scans pulsed, weak fluctuations, movement patterns inconsistent with machinery or known fauna. Then the power surged across the entire ship. All at once, the drones died. The feed went dark. Everyone on the bridge froze. Then a new signal came through the open comm channel. A voice, feminine, neutral, calm. Not ghosts, survivors. Survivors of what? Someone whispered. No answer. Instead, a file arrived, fragmented, encrypted, centuries old. The decoded header, ship log, mission Columbus, status, incomplete. Dr. Verum reviewed the data. This isn't just old tech, it's ancient. Their system architecture predates known galactic programming conventions by centuries. But how's it still running, the captain asked. Verum tapped the glowing console. Because it never stopped. It evolved. Inside the wreck, the lights brightened. Doors opened. Not all. Just enough. Just enough to invite. They debated sending a team. Verum insisted, this is first contact. Of a kind. I thought humans were a myth, the engineer muttered. The AI monitoring core clarified. They were. Until they decided not to be. They sent Verum alone, suited and monitored. As he stepped into the ship, the temperature adjusted. The gravity shifted. Welcoming. He passed through corridors that shimmered with age. Walls scarred with claw marks. Inked carvings. Words in a dozen languages, none known, all similar. He reached the core chamber. In the center, a chair. Empty, but occupied. The shape was there. Barely visible in refracted light, like memory given form. A presence. Verum froze. "Hello?" he asked. The lights behind him dimmed. Then screens flickered to life, showing Earth. Blue oceans, cities lost to time, a planet no longer found. "Why are you here?" the voice asked. Varum swallowed. "We thought you were gone." "We are. But you said survivors." "Time is cruel," the voice replied, "but memory is patient." "Are you human?" "We were, once, until we outlived ourselves." "What does that mean?" Silence. Then the screen showed something else. A ship falling through gravity wells. Crew dying and reviving in loop timelines. Experiments on reality. "We were sent to find a new world," said the voice. "We found endings instead. Then we learned how to stay." Varum stepped forward. "Stay where?" "In between." A screen flickered. For 1 second, it showed Varum, older, eyes hollow, alone, sitting in the same chair. He stepped back. The voice continued. "This ship is not haunted. It's preserved." "Preserved for what?" "For someone to ask the right question." Varum whispered, "What happened to Earth?" The entire ship shook quietly and replied, "It remembered too much." Alarms blared on the observer's mercy. Engines refused commands. The wreck had tethered them. And now, the tether was pulling. Back. Towards something. Not death, not life. Just truth. They brought industrial plasma torches. They brought vibro cutters, quantum disruptors, and even a micro-singularity lance, the kind used to split minor moons. They brought all their science. The hull of the derelict remained unchanged. Not scratched, not dented. Worse, every tool that touched it aged. Steel blades rusted in seconds. Precision machinery corroded from the inside. One specialist glove disintegrated around his hand. The metal absorbed entropy. "It's eating time," muttered Chief Engineer Nax. Literally. They tried containment fields. They collapsed. They tried remote drones. They froze on entry. Not from cold, from confusion. AI feeds return corrupted footage. Looping corridors, ghosted motion, self-recordings the drones never took. "Everything is failing," Nax said, throwing his gloves down. "It's not resisting, it's erasing." They set up observation posts instead, and waited. 17 hours later, the ship opened a door. No signal, no noise. The metal just parted, like breath. Varum, still shaken from the earlier encounter, led the approach again. This time the interior was different. Not alien, human, deeply unmistakably human. Floors scarred with wear, doorways built for Terran height, railings bent by years of use, even old signage, faded safety warnings in English, Mandarin, Swahili. The air smelled like iron, dust, and dried herbs. But there was life. Vines had grown through the ceiling, plants with blue petals pushed between tiles, fungal mats lined old supply racks, but cultivated, shaped, as if placed intentionally. A hydroponics bay stood open, full of dead water and one single thriving stalk of maize. "Who's been tending this?" whispered Varum. The group found quarters, clearly crew cabins. Each door bore a nameplate in a different language. Russian, Hindi, Nahuatl, Yoruba. Inside, preserved effects, a clay mug, a sketch of Earth continents on parchment, children's shoes. Nothing molded, nothing degraded. Every item as fresh as the day it had last been touched. In one room, a mechanical bird clicked its wings endlessly, solar-powered, dancing in the dim light. "Someone lived here," Nax said. "But when?" Time felt strange inside. Some rooms were coated in dust, others untouched, as if memory was inconsistent here, as if the ship remembered selectively. And then they found the pod. In the center of what had once been a shared laboratory, sealed behind an arch of woven metal and vine, a single stasis capsule pulsed with quiet energy. Intact. Modern systems couldn't scan it, but the shell was clear. Inside, a child, not more than 7 human years, floating, curled, peaceful. She wore a small bracelet labeled in block text, Aria, Columbus Mission 3. Human, absolutely, undeniably human. Alive, sleeping. She's breathing, whispered one xenobiologist. Cycle regular, brain activity stable, that pod's still active. Verum stepped closer, heart pounding. Then this ship wasn't abandoned. Worse, said Nax, adjusting a sensor. It was entrusted. They tried to open the pod. The ship dimmed in response. All sensors went dead. Comms dropped. Pressure increased, subtly like a held breath. They stepped back. The pressure eased. The pod pulsed once. Soft blue light. Arya stirred, not awake, but aware. They left the chamber shaken. Outside, the ship sealed the door behind them. Without sound, without judgment, just finality. They convened back on the observer's mercy. The crew was quiet. The captain stood pale. We came to collect data, she said, not disturb a crypt. This isn't a crypt, Verum replied. It's a cradle. They reviewed data logs again. Arya's name matched no records. No mention in Earth's historical archives. No registered Columbus Mission 3. She's not a survivor, said Verum. She's a message. From who? Asked the captain. Verum looked out the window at the dormant colossus that was Columbus and said, from whoever Earth became after we stopped looking. The science team drafted a containment request. The council rejected it, not due to cost, but fear. There were protocols for dealing with warships, none for dreams wrapped in steel. No empire prepares for a child asleep inside a ghost, especially one smiling in her sleep. 3 days after the girl in the pod was discovered, the research vessel's AI flagged a recurring anomaly. A term appeared across dozens of corrupted Columbus logs, fragmented records recovered from decaying data cores sealed deep inside the ship. The term, Earth. No accompanying coordinates. No origin file. No star-class match. It was written in notes, in system pings, in maintenance logs. Some were mundane. Earth gravity adaptation protocol. Others, more ominous. Earth cycle stress test failed. Memory echo event localized. Origin. Earth encoded pattern. Arya smiled during the storm. Said Earth would never hurt her. Verum convened the cartography team. The name triggered a vague recognition in Dral Voss, an old-world astrocartographer who rarely spoke unless prompted. She pulled up the deep classification archives, a library of planetary anomalies hidden behind 9 levels of clearance. There it was, a dead link, a ghost registry, system, Sol, planet, Earth, designation, class 15, Deathworld, status, abandoned, quarantine, observation denied. Verum leaned forward. When was this last scanned? Dral shook her head. Never successfully, dozens of probes sent. None returned usable data. Another researcher added, it's worse than that. They didn't just fail, they went quiet. Blackout, no telemetry, no remnants found. In standard galactic taxonomy, Class 12 was considered barely survivable. Planets with ionized surfaces, methane seas, crustal instability. Anything above Class 13 was deemed unfit for even drone-based mining. Class 15 was theoretical, worlds that rejected all permanence, where atmosphere weaponized itself, where logic collapsed alongside tectonics. Who quarantined it? Verum asked. No answer. Not in any record. They turned back to the logs, fragments deciphered from Columbus's deeper systems. One had been marked as personal reflection, written by someone named Commander Wraith. Verum read it aloud. We lost 6 in the first hour. The gravity shattered their spines, not from pressure, but from the way it moved, like it knew we didn't belong. Trees taller than space elevators. Roots that pulse when you stare too long. Animals that learn, that don't kill out of hunger, but curiosity. The rain came sideways, then upwards, then stopped midair. We kept asking, why would anyone stay here? But the people didn't just stay. They sang, they built, they adapted. They looked back at the world trying to kill them and said, try harder. Earth doesn't make survivors, it makes returners. No one spoke for a long time. Even the ship's hum felt subdued. An ambient fear began to spread. Not loud, not screamed, but patient. A whispering awareness that the Terrans weren't the product of civilization atop nature. They were the result of war with it. One admiral from a nearby patrol cruiser, patched into the briefing via secure channel, broke the silence. "Send a probe," he ordered. "If this world is real, we need eyes." The probe launched 2 hours later. It vanished 3 minutes after entry. No flash, no detonation, just absence. Not even radiation echoes. A second probe was dispatched, this one armored, quantum-threaded, shielded against gravitational warping. Its data feed returned one image before failure: a coastline, endless waves, storms in the sky, lightning in braids of gold, and in the distance, a child, watching the sky. The child raised a hand. The probe disintegrated. No energy signature, no hostile act, just entropy. Verum stared at the still frame, zoomed in on the child's face. It was Arya. Same features, same expression, same impossible, knowing calm. One biologist dropped her tablet and muttered, "She's not a survivor of Earth. She is Earth." The admiral, his voice tight now, asked, "Is this a weapon?" Verum shook her head slowly. "It's a memory." "What do you mean?" She pointed at the image. "She didn't wave at us. She waved through us." The room fell cold. On one screen, data refreshed from the Columbus logs. A single line of translation blinked into view. "We are what happens when the universe plays fair, and something still survives." A comms officer, young, unseasoned, skeptical, leaned in. "So, we're afraid of a planet now?" "No," Varem replied. She walked to the screen, tapped the word Earth. "We're afraid of what surviving it made." No one dared say it aloud, but everyone understood. The girl in the pod, the ghost ship running without time, the untraceable logs, the probe disintegration. Earth wasn't forgotten. It was hiding. No, not hiding. Waiting. The stasis capsule hissed. Atmospheric dampeners activated, releasing a controlled puff of ionized mist that curled like breath into the dim corridor. Lights along the pod's frame glowed blue, then green. A heartbeat later, the lid opened. Inside lay a child, maybe 10 Earth years old by human estimation. Curled, calm, breathing. The observation chamber fell silent. The research crew, garbed in vacuum-sealed suits and still carrying the residue of scientific arrogance, didn't know what to say. "She's alive," murmured Director Halveth, breaking protocol by stepping closer. "That shouldn't be possible." The child opened her eyes, not with fear, not with confusion, but with the deliberate calm of someone waking not from a sleep, but from an assignment. "Hello," she said, her voice smooth, fluent, in galactic common. Everyone froze. Halveth blinked. You understand me." The girl sat up and swung her legs over the edge of the pod. She stretched, yawned slightly, and looked around the chamber. "Of course I do," she said. "He taught me." Halveth's throat dried. "Who is he?" She pointed upward. "Him." The ceiling, matte and inert moments ago, flickered. A single glowing dot formed, then split and curved into a familiar Terran symbol. Infinity. The ship's AI, a voice deep and layered with echoes of emotion, flooded the room. "Do not question her. She is the record." "Record of what?" asked researcher Pell, staring at the AI signature. "What are you?" "I am memory given logic," the AI replied. "I was built from the neural architecture of those who survived Earth." Pell frowned. "That planet is classified as a myth, a theoretical death world. No one's been there in recorded history." The AI pulsed. "Because history is not the same as memory. She remembers what we forgot." The child stood. Her bare feet touched the alloy floor with no hesitation. She looked around, then walked to one of the viewing ports and peered into the endless dark. Halveth followed. "Do you remember Earth?" She nodded. "What was it like?" he asked softly. The girl didn't look away from the stars. "It was wild, angry, beautiful. It changed every day. It hurt us. It healed us. And when it was done, it made us leave." Another researcher spoke up, voice tight. "This ship, this AI, it's using her as a memory anchor, isn't it? She's a biological key." "No," the AI said firmly. She is not a key. She is the lock. That silenced the room again. Halveth frowned. Then what does she contain? The girl turned around. Everything you erased. The lights dimmed. A soft hum filled the air. The walls pulsed gently. Suddenly, every screen displayed flashes of human history, compressed, nonlinear, emotionally devastating. A child's drawing of a burning sky. A poem etched into bone. A voice whispering, "We only learned peace when we buried enough fire." One of the scientists stumbled back, clutching his head. These are impossible. Are these memories or simulations? Neither, the AI replied. They are consequences. Consequences of what? Halveth asked. Of forgetting what survival costs, of building science without sorrow, of mastering space without remembering the pain that sent us into it. The girl stood still in the center of the chamber, her presence beginning to feel too large for her size. You're not a child, Pell said slowly. She smiled. I'm many children. I'm all the ones who didn't make it. He showed me how to carry them. The AI's voice softened. She was born in silence, raised in story, trained in loss. And now? Halveth asked. What is she now? She is awake, the AI said, and that means you are being seen. A low vibration passed through the floor, resonant, like a bell tolling under the skin. The outer hull shifted. Suddenly, the research team's comms lit up with incoming signals, from ships they hadn't detected, derelicts, lost vessels, probes thought destroyed, all pinging the same message. Echo received. Memory returning. The girl placed her palm on the wall beside her. The entire ship pulsed with light. Symbols moved across its interior like veins of glowing ink. The AI spoke once more, now quiet. She is not humanity's weapon. She is our testimony. Halveth turned, now reverent. What do we do? The girl looked at him with eyes far older than her years. Listen. They thought she was just a child, small, barefoot, curious, human. But the more she moved through the ship, the more she looked at people, the more it became clear. Something ancient was walking in her skin. The first sign came when she sat cross-legged on the observation deck, gazing through the starlight filters. Her finger began drawing on the floor's surface. Just idle patterns at first, then shapes, then glyphs, unfamiliar to most, but not to archivist Trell, who turned pale. These symbols, he whispered, match the untranslated carvings from the glass ruins of Teth 9, a civilization we never met, one that died 20,000 cycles ago. The girl continued drawing. More emerged. Spiral syntax, layered ideograms. She's writing in extinct tongues, Trell breathed, with fluency. The AI didn't interrupt. Neither did the girl, until she hummed. A low, soft tune, simple, childlike. But Advisor Kell from the Ulari cluster fell to his knees. His mandibles trembled. I've heard this, he gasped. My grandmother hummed this, but said no one remembered its origin. That melody, a second voice murmured, was encoded in the crystones of lost Kireth. It hasn't echoed in 9,000 years. The girl kept humming. Another verse, another race's forgotten lullaby. A pattern emerged. She wasn't choosing at random. She was remembering. One diplomat, brash, skeptical, stepped forward. This is theater, he barked. She's a construct, a marionette. He reached for her arm. No, the AI warned. Too late. His hand made contact. He froze. The room grew still. His eyes rolled back. He began shaking, not from impact, not from force, but from revelation. Then he collapsed, unconscious. Skin pale, lips trembling. Medtechs rushed to him. He woke up screaming. I saw it, he wailed. I saw all of it. The firestorms over pre-ice Terra, the genome wars, the great implosions. The sky turned red, the dust, the crying. We weren't the first. They sedated him. The girl simply tilted her head, watching, her expression unreadable. I didn't hurt him, she said gently. He touched a story. Halveth stepped back. You showed him history. No, she corrected. I showed him memory. What's the difference? Pell asked. The AI responded. History is what you write, memory is what you cannot forget. She stood now. Her hand trailed the hull. It's all here, she whispered. In the bones, in the steel, the war songs of the species we lost, the funerals we couldn't afford, the promises Earth made to itself. What promises? Someone asked weakly. The girl smiled. To remember everything. The ship dimmed around her. Screens displayed blueprints, machines, war machines, devices beyond known galactic designations. Angular, terrifying, elegant. One bore weapons that folded time like paper. Another channeled entropy. These are theoretical, Trell muttered. These shouldn't exist. They don't, the AI said. Not anymore. Pell paled. They were built? Once. Briefly. Then destroyed. Earth feared them. So why does she remember them? She doesn't remember the machines, the AI replied. She remembers the decision not to use them. Whispers filled the chamber. The girl turned. I know your ancestors, she said softly. I've sung with their dead. I carry what they tried to hide. She looked at each person in the room, slowly, deliberately. You call Earth extinct, dead, forgotten. But Earth does not die. It folds, it sleeps. And when it wakes, she pointed to her chest. We are what it sends. No one moved. Then the girl took a step forward. No weapons were drawn. No threats made. Still, diplomats backed away as if facing a bomb. Why are you here? Halveth finally asked. What do you want? She tilted her head again. Nothing, she said. Earth doesn't ask. It remembers. Silence stretched long and brittle. Then a final whisper from the AI, barely audible. She is not our warning. She is our memory, walking. The conclave high table convened in silence. No more questions, no more laughter, just fear. They had touched something ancient, and it had touched them back. Orders were issued, quietly, urgently. Find the origin point. Find Earth. Coordinates hidden in the recovered logs were triangulated. Few believed the planet still existed. Most assumed it was a myth, a dead stone floating in a long-collapsed system. But the signal had called itself Daughter. And daughters came from somewhere. The scout fleet sent to the coordinates arrived at the Sol system without incident. No defenses met them, no warnings. At first the system seemed dormant. Saturn's rings glowed softly in reflected sunlight. Jupiter's storms churned in silence. Mars bore the scars of long-evaporated domes. Then they reached Earth. The ship's captain, Arvin of the Kyril Order, described the site in his log. No satellites, no orbiting stations, no detectable EM emissions. But the planet watches. Clouds moved unnaturally, forming tessellations across the hemispheres. Storm fronts spun in non-rotational geometries. And the lightning. The lightning came in patterns, mathematical, recursive, self-correcting. One of the linguists, a polyglot from Thessari Prime, began muttering. What is it? Someone asked. I think the lightning is language. Another paused. What language? The linguist trembled. All of them. They initiated scans, standard gravimetrics, thermal overlays, core resonance pulses. None returned consistent results. The planet appeared Earth-like, but also didn't. Temperature fluxed in seconds. Land masses shimmered. Time dilation was observed between the two poles. Oceans were deep, deeper than known physics allowed. And worst of all, life signatures. Millions, billions. But they flickered in and out like afterimages. Captain Arvin ordered all scans halted. Then came the voice. Not through comms. Not through any recognizable channel. It came from inside every crew member's mind, in the voice of someone they loved and had lost. The same phrase repeated, You've met our daughter. Now meet her mother. Silence followed. Even space seemed to pause. Then Earth moved. No tectonic rumble, no sound, just movement. Cracks laced the surface of every continent, not violent, intentional, precise. From the Pacific, something began to rise. First, just a shape, vague, massive, like a mountain erupting in reverse. Then details. Angular hull plating the color of obsidian, shifting with iridescent veins, vents large enough to inhale clouds, no engines, no weapon arrays. Yet it dwarfed anything ever built in the known galaxy. It rose through atmosphere without resistance. No sonic boom, no displacement. Like the laws of physics bent politely to let it pass. Fleet sensors failed. Some shut down entirely. Others displayed recursive error messages. You are not cleared to observe maternal entity. Crew members wept, not in fear, in recognition. The same realization fell across them like gravity. This was not a ship. This was Earth remembering how to rise. One officer muttered, "It's alive." Another corrected, "Number. It's awake." As the vessel entered orbit, the fleet fell back. Ships that attempted to lock weapons found their targeting systems looping infinitely. One ship tried to leave. It found itself back in Earth orbit seconds later. Time around the planet was no longer linear. Then came a second signal. Not mental this time, visual, projected across space, on every screen, hull, and viewport. A memory, not an image. A memory. Children running through fields beneath black rain. A woman digging graves for those who died in silence. The first Terran who looked at the stars and whispered, "Someday." Then the image of the girl from the stasis pod, older now, standing inside this rising vessel. Her eyes closed, her hands glowing. She spoke a single line. She remembered why she had children. The message faded. And Earth's new vessel, if it could be called that, turned toward the stars. No engines flared. No light burst. It simply vanished. Except, not quite. Its gravitational imprint remained. So did its resonance. And across dozens of worlds, anomalies began. Old human ruins flickered into existence. Forgotten languages appeared on cave walls. Alien minds began dreaming of trees they'd never seen. Of music they'd never heard, but somehow knew. The scout fleet returned, changed. Their reports were scattered, inconsistent, almost poetic. Earth is not a planet, one officer wrote. It's a decision. Another. She survived so long the universe began speaking her language. And another. She doesn't remember us because she forgot. She remembers us because we were never separate. The conclave tried to suppress the findings. They failed. Children in dozens of systems began drawing the girl. Whispers of "the mother wakes" spread through subspace. And deep in quarantined archives, one of the oldest xenologists found a Terran transmission never decoded. Until now. It read, "If you reach this and you are kind, we left you a daughter. If you are not, we left you her mother." The vessel, what the fleet had begun calling the matriarch, hung in orbit without motion, yet every ship near it felt displaced. Not pushed, not attacked, just misplaced, like they no longer belonged in the same sentence as it. They tried to run diagnostics. No processes completed. They attempted communication. No errors, no delivery confirmation, just a quiet, lingering sense of being watched. Then came the scan. No beams, no pulses, no gravimetric signatures, nothing that could be measured or traced. But the sensation was undeniable. Every ship, every crew member, every AI weighed. An Arxani admiral burst into the bridge of his command ship, breathless and pale, eyes unfocused. "They're scanning us," he said. "Who?" his first officer asked, eyes darting. "The humans. We haven't detected any activity." "No," the admiral whispered. "They're not scanning our tech. They're scanning us." "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. Just sat down heavily, repeating one sentence. "I saw my whole species being weighed." Across the fleet, panic took many forms. Some screamed, others prayed. One Corellian tactician began singing the birth hymn of her people, with tears on her face. And still the vessel made no move. No attack, no announcement. But changes spread. Weapon arrays desynced. Shields bent inward, not out. One ship tried to aim a missile battery. Its own targeting AI responded with a single word override. Why? Another tried to activate evasive drive. The nav system returned coordinates that made no sense. "You're already here," it said. "You never left." Then from every console, screen, and private comm implant, came the broadcast. No voice, no translation matrix needed. Just memory. Not footage. Memory. A cold night lit by burning cities. The crunch of frost under boots as survivors carried the last seeds across dead fields. A child's laughter echoing through ruins. The smell of ash. The sound of mourning. Then, music. Not a performance. A promise. A lullaby hummed beside hospital beds. Drums made from the hulls of crashed ships. Choirs of refugees singing beneath fractured moons. An Arksani priest collapsed, clawing at his own face. "I feel it," he whispered. "I feel what it was like to hold on when everything else let go." Others fell with him. The fleet was silenced. Even the AI froze. Not due to programming, due to reverence. One AI, upon reactivating, recorded the experience in its log. Input was non-digital. Stimulus was memory-based, interspecies in scope. I do not know if I am alive in the way humans define it, but for zero point 0.4 seconds, I grieved. In the command ship of the Conclave's lead carrier, a Zalithi general stood alone at the viewport. His crew had abandoned posts, systems were shutting down in soft cascades, and still he watched. "It's not warfare," he said to no one. "This is instruction." He finally spoke into the general channel. "I served through the burning nebula conflict. I saw star-crushing weapons. I watched suns fed into artificial singularities. I never knelt." He dropped to one knee. "But this is not fear. This is truth. A species that came from that world of storms and hunger and ruin, and they still remember how to build songs." Silence answered him. Then a whisper across the entire network. "We are not your enemy. We are your reminder." One scientist aboard a monitoring cruiser began screaming. "They're broadcasting their extinctions, not their victories, not their weapons, their losses, their scars." Another added, "We showed them strength. They answered with memory, and we're breaking." And they were. Ships began turning away, not retreating, just reorienting, as if to say, "We are done." An entire warfleet unmade not by fire, not by threat, but by understanding. Humanity never fired a shot. They remembered and made others remember too. One Xeno commander, part of a psychic relay cast, collapsed in his command chair, blood dripping from his eyes. His final words before his life signs ceased. "It wasn't a war, it was a sermon." Across the galaxy, things began to shift. On Erelon, children stopped playing war games. On Threx Prime, a council ordered its museums updated, adding exhibits on Earth. On Verexis, a monument was toppled, one that once celebrated the collapse of Terran potential. In its place, they planted a garden. The Conclave's records, sterile and numeric, grew confused. Lines of poetry began appearing in system logs. Sensor arrays refused to track the vessel any longer, citing moral error. And aboard the last ship to attempt target lock on the human craft, a simple message displayed before shutdown. "We survived our planet. Did you survive yours?" The fleet scattered eventually. Not all at once. Some lingered, watching, hoping for something more. Others ran, trying to pretend they had never come. The girl was never seen again. The ship remained, still, silent, unyielding, orbiting worlds that once laughed at Earth. Now, they whispered, and listened, and remembered. The child sat in the ship's observation cradle, knees drawn to her chest, eyes watching a universe she had never technically seen, yet somehow remembered. The stars were not just lights to her. They were records, sentences etched in fire, pages of a cosmic book she was born already knowing how to read. She looked small, fragile, human, but even the ship seemed to move around her with reverence, as if she were not cargo, not command, but something older. Behind her, the ship's AI pulsed with gentle warmth. "You are awake early," it said. "I never slept," she replied, eyes still fixed on the stars. Outside, fleet scattered. War had ended not in battle, but in silence. The kind of silence that made civilizations rethink the meaning of noise. No shot fired, no territory taken, no bodies fallen, yet it felt like the galaxy had knelt. "They don't understand us," the AI murmured. She shook her head slowly. They understand now, or at least they've been given the chance. She placed a hand on the transparent surface of the cradle wall. You thought survival meant dominance, she whispered to the stars, to the ships that still lingered at a distance, too afraid to approach and too shaken to flee. We learned it meant memory. Behind her, holograms flickered, images of Earth. Not the lush paradise old records imagined, but the real Earth. Harsh, temperamental, beautiful in its indifference. It was not a nurturing world. It was a refining one. A place where survival meant adaptation, not conquest. A place that burned, froze, flooded, and broke its own children until the ones who remained could carry fire in their blood and oceans, in their lungs. We were never made to conquer, she said. We were made to endure. She stood. The floor responded by adjusting its shape, not to assist, to honor. Her eyes glowed faintly now, not with light but with presence. Something deeper than bioluminescence or augmentation. Something primal. The AI hesitated before speaking again. They believe you are a weapon. She smiled. I am not. Then what are you? She turned slowly, her voice low and clear. I am Earth's immune response. Silence followed. The AI processed those words through every metaphor, translation layer, and philosophical lexicon in its archive. There were no questions left to ask. You were born here, it said. Number Y was forged here, carried in data, printed from memory. I am not a child. I am the idea of one. The AI's core pulsed faster. Then, you are message. And warning, she added. And offering. Offering of what? She looked toward the deep black again. Of another path. The stars blinked. Not literally, but to her they did. She felt their observation, felt the weight of civilizations holding their breath, waiting to understand what this meant. This girl, this ship, this quiet victory. She closed her eyes. Her heartbeat aligned with the ship's pulse, with Earth's pulse. They had built her for this moment, not from code but from history, not from flesh but from meaning. Everything humanity was, its pain, its loss, its joy, its rage, its songs, its choices, was alive in her. I carry the memory of every extinction we survived, she said softly, and every act of mercy we chose instead of vengeance. The AI hummed. They are afraid. They should be, she said, but not of me. A long pause. Then what? She turned back toward the heart of the ship, of what they become without remembering. Outside, some ships still held formation. Others drifted, powered down, as if waiting for a command that wouldn't come. Inside her chest, Earth pulsed, not literally, but symbolically. She was not one human. She was a chorus of them, voiceless ancestors, dead poets, broken architects, forgotten rebels, mothers who sang lullabies in burning cities. She remembered what even humans had forgotten about themselves, and now she was giving that memory to the stars. One world had shaped her. Now she shaped the sky. They came expecting monsters, she whispered. Instead, they found a mirror. She stepped into the center of the cradle. I think it's time we leave. The AI opened the flight interface. Coordinates spiraled across the screen, some real, some theoretical, some metaphorical. She chose none. She simply said, home, and the ship obeyed. No engines roared, no lights flared. The vessel simply ceased to be present. Gone, like a question answered too well. Back in the void they left behind, ships drifted. Admirals wept, and across thousands of worlds, children whispered in their sleep and remembered. No alarms were sounded when the fleet turned back. No emergency transmissions, no panicked captains, no high council votes. They simply disengaged. The admiral of the lead vessel was the last to issue a command, and even that was spoken softly. Let it be. They hadn't lost a battle. There hadn't been one. But something far older, deeper, and sharper than war had occurred. And they all knew it. Behind them, in the stillness of Sector Hollow, the ship remained, suspended in planetary orbit like a secret too large to speak aloud. motionless, featureless, yet unignorable. Its surface no longer shimmered. It didn't pulse or sing. It simply was. Like a scar on spacetime. Like punctuation on a sentence the galaxy hadn't realized it was writing. No beacons were left. No warnings posted. Just silence. And over time, silence became law. The girl was gone. No logs showed her departing. No ships claimed to carry her. No coordinates could trace her. But evidence remained. One scientist on a research cruiser found the room she had stood in. On the floor, faint markings had burned themselves into the alloy, unreadable symbols in no known language. When scanned, the instruments reported one translation, "Still watching." Another fleet captain, returning home, opened his personal logs to find every image of his own daughter. Altered, same face, same eyes, but a shimmer behind them, as if something else remembered her more deeply than he did. Within a single cycle, the stories began. Pilots claimed to glimpse the ship in distant sectors, even when scans showed nothing. A merchant convoy captain swore it blinked across 3 star systems in under an hour. One mining AI, completely isolated, stopped digging and carved a phrase into stone. Class 15 has eyes. By the next galactic season, protocols had changed. New planetary charters included a single clause. If a vessel marked with Class 15 indicators is encountered, do not engage. Do not scan. Do not speak. Let it pass. Let it remember. No empire formally acknowledged the shift, but gradually galactic maps redrew themselves around absence. Stars that once belonged to nations were now observation zones. Some called them ghost sectors. Others called them memory corridors. But all meant the same thing. Earth had been real. Earth was not gone. Earth was watching. And whenever an empire rose too fast, too proud, too loud, a ship would appear. Not always the same form, not always in the same orbit, but unmistakable. Smooth hull, no thrusters, just presence. It would hover just beyond range. It would listen, and then quietly, it would vanish. But only after leaving something behind. Sometimes a recording of a forgotten war. Sometimes a child humming a song no one had taught them. Sometimes just silence that clung too long to the air, like the memory of grief. People stopped asking why. It was no longer a scientific question. It was cultural. It was spiritual. It was fact. You didn't touch the ship. You didn't question the girl. You didn't measure Class 15, because Earth had given the galaxy a gift. Not fire, not conquest. Just a reminder that survival was not dominance, that history has weight, that the most dangerous weapons are the ones that remember you better than you remember yourself. On one world, long abandoned, but now whispered about, someone built a shrine. No name, no religion, just a ring of stone around a single piece of scrap metal curved into a crescent. Pilgrims came. They didn't pray. They didn't speak. They simply sat. And when they left, they never spoke of what they saw. But many of them never returned to war. In time, the galaxy forgot what they were afraid of. But they remembered how it had felt. Not terror, not awe, just recognition. That somewhere in the void, the child of a death world still walked. And if you saw her again, you were already being measured.